told me to say no. Okay. So hi, good morning. Hi, wherever you're watching from. Um, should just be a short conversation. So as we look towards the year 2026, I've always said that the reason why a lot of farmers struggle is because we've not understood the role of data in farming. We've not understood the role of data when it comes to agriculture. So I know that many a time we tend to say things like, oh, our Greek is unpredictable, our Greek is this, our Greek is that, and all of that. But you see, the reality is, when you look at agriculture is basically a sector that first and foremost is responsible for feeding people, right? So agriculture is responsible for feeding people. Two, agriculture is responsible for clothing people, for your housing, that's your shelter, and so on and so forth. Now, what does this mean in reality or in essence? You might think agriculture is not predictable, but when you start realizing that agriculture helps us to meet human needs, agriculture is agriculture's role is to meet the needs of human being, you realize that the predictability of agriculture is based on humans, is based on trends. What are humans likely to like? What are they likely to move to? What are they likely to prefer? But you see, the funny thing is, regardless of the trends in agriculture, you can change your taste for food, but you cannot stop eating. I want us to understand that. So, food would always be there, but the kind of food that we like, that we want, may not always be the same. We would always wear clothes, but the kind of clothes or the style of clothes may change. We will always we would always stay in houses, but the kind of houses we build may change. If that makes any sense. So it means that to a large extent, we can predict that agriculture will still be relevant tomorrow. I want to give an example of trends so you understand where I'm going. I think it was coffee campaign I think it was India. I think it was in India. This is not the one I'm looking for. Coffee. I think it was. Okay, yes. So there is this, it's not even a story. So it's not even a story. It's there is this company. I'm sure you know Starbucks and all of that. Years ago, when they tried introducing coffee to the country of India, they realized that a lot of people were not willing to taste coffee. I mean, if you probably grew up like me, who felt coffee was bitter, why do you want coffee? I mean, this thing is bitter. What's the beauty in a bitter thing? Or this alcohol is bitter. What's the beauty in it? And you suddenly realize, what did they do? They started making candies first. They started making coffee candies, distributing it for free to primary school students. Distributing it for free, so they had the tiny ones they were distributing for free. Over time, they started selling. Now, what happened over time? These young people that got free coffee sweets, that started buying coffee sweets later, by the time they became adults, they have created a flair, a palate for coffee, such that The reason why coffee today is one of the big things in India is because they were groomed for it. They were groomed for it. So it was not something that happened by happenstance. No, they were groomed. Now, this is where I'm going, because when we are thinking of the future of agriculture, especially as it relates to 2026, what a lot of farmers do not know is there are big corporations who are spending good money to groom the next generation of spenders. There are big corporations who are spending a lot of money to groom the next generation of spenders. Excuse me. The next generation. Now, this is where the issue lies. As a young farmer, as a young entrepreneur, you are focused on trying to gather your own market intelligence rather than understand where has this big corporation spent money, so that I can just simply align. So that I can just simply what? Align. And by aligning, I can be a supplier to that value chain where money is going to move to. Let me give an example so this would make sense. It has already been published, these are paid publications, that the wealth of the world would be higher by 2026. More importantly, the wealth of Nigerians will be higher by not wealth, let me rephrase that. The riches of young adults in Nigeria will be higher. However, their savings will be lower. And the reason why some of these predictions are going out is because there is the whole understanding of monetizing things like Twitter, things like Instagram, things like Facebook, things like TikTok. And most of these corporations are trying to do everything possible to make it easier for the younger generation to come in. Now, the problem with this is a lot of young persons will now have money. I am sure you would have noticed that a lot of young people these days are now increasingly spending their time trying to generate money on on social media. They are either dancing, singing, doing comedy skits, or just being there goofing just to make money. But you see, why will this be allowed? Or why is this pertinent? This is pertinent because with more money in their hands, there is the whole thing of where will they spend this money. Because when young people have more money, they become they become liberated. They have a voice. They grow their confidence. But there are big corporations who are intentionally, who are spending millions and millions of dollars behind the scene to groom what they will like vis-a-vis what this money will be spent on. And agriculture is not left out. So as we plan for the future, for 2026 as a farmer, we need to know where are they spending money on, what should I focus on as a farmer, what should I focus on growing, or what should I redirect my strength to. So based on documentation, I will try to run through the 10 big areas for 2026 in Nigeria agriculture, then the big areas for 2026 for Africa's agriculture. So you see there is a difference. Nigeria's agriculture speaks to what we create riches within the Nigeria ecosystem. I will try to dabble into what you can export and what will be consumed locally, if I can. Then I would then look at Africa as a whole, because I'm sure you've heard of the AfCFTA, which is the African Trade Agreement, because you can make money by not sending produce from Nigeria to Europe. You can make good money by selling within Africa. You can send to other African countries and also see what are those things in other African countries that are needed in Nigeria. So that you might be saying, oh, I don't have money to go to Europe, I don't have money to go to blah 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 and lilibilibi. But you may have money enough to go to Cotonou, to go to Ghana, to go to Togo and bring those things into Nigeria. You've written to me, Sandra, about what I can't remember. Then, finally, I would then look at the agricultural scope for the world. For the world. My farm is in Ogun State, Abeokuta. Ogun State, Abeokuta. We own the largest greenhouse farm in West Africa, over 100 acres. So we then look at where is the world going, so that you are able to correctly position yourself. So I start with Nigeria. For 2026, just a minute, please. We are in Ogun State, Nigeria. I'm not sure what happened. My solar just went off. My solar just went off. My solar just went off. Sorry, just a minute. Let me open the window. Is it slightly bright? No. My solar just went off. Okay, so I think I will just use this. Alright, sorry about that. My solar went off. Okay, so back to where I was. Sorry about the solar going off. You are farming ugu in Osun. I have a huge market for ugu, but we can only buy your ugu if it can get here fresh and within, I think, 3-4 hours of harvest, fresh from the farm, and there is no way that would happen, and it has to be either cold or you are moving it through the night. So unless you can figure out a way to test that, I have a customer right now that needs about 2 tons of ugu every week minimum, but it has to be fresh because it's going to the UK. So, and it needs to get to us for us to be sure and certify before we can say let it move. So if you can figure out how to get it to us, then yes. All right. Now, looking at 2026 outlook, one of the first things, the number one thing that is going to be a big thing next year is cassava farming/processing. Farming/processing. Notice, I did not say cassava farming alone. It must come with processing. Very important. For next year, the total export target, the total export of cassava from Nigeria, when it is processed, is going to be $1.2 billion. That is what is predicted. $1.2 billion for cassava 2026. It's the number one on the list. It's going to be one of our largest exports next year to provide $1.2 billion in revenue coming into the country. I can tell you for free that there is a high demand for cassava flakes, there is a high demand for starch, there is a high demand for fufu, there is a high demand for garri. Over the last couple of weeks, I had the opportunity of being around the Arab nations, and I was shocked when I saw the price of garri on shelves. As a matter of fact, in one of the nations that I entered, I noticed that in the whole of the capital city, they only had about 8 African restaurants and less than 8 African stores. And when I say African stores, it meant because these countries are hot, so it's not like us that we will call one big mall. In almost all the markets I went to, I could not count up to 8 where they had gari, and it's pretty expensive. And this is not just the story of one nation. This is the story of multiple nations. Funny enough, in some of these stores, when you get there, what you realize is this product comes from other nations, not even Nigeria. They come from other nations, not even Nigeria. If you say you can meet up with the fresh demand, Godwin, where is your location? I need to know, God's law rather, where is your location? It comes from other nations. So cassava next year would be a big deal. However, for you to be able to compete favorably, you need to do it on a large scale because you will need mechanization. You will need mechanization to boost your yield. You need mechanization to boost your yield. Ethanol is going to be a big thing next year. Starch is going to be a big thing next year. The regular gari and all of that fufu will be a big thing next year. Next year, for those that are able to process very well and export, it is expected you should make a margin of about 28 to 38% returns. 28 to 38% returns. No, so if you have 5 acres, you are not yet in that value chain unless you can add value. Remember, I said you need to do it on a large scale. The next thing that will be big next year, say you are in Ijebu-Ode, I think Ijebu-Ode is closer. How much ugu do you have? How much ugu do you have? If you feel you have a lot of ugu, you can bring a sample of maybe 50 kg to Soilers. If you can come between now and weekend, I'm on the farm all through. So just come around, let me see how fresh it is before we can have a conversation, because a lot of people will shout, hey, I have plenty ugu, I have plenty ugu. Until you not tell them bring, you not start hearing story. When you say what capacity, I have access to a market of over 10-15 tons of ugu every week, and that is just the fresh market before I add my dehydrated market and my frozen market. So there is a huge market for that. Next, number 2 is poultry. Sorry for cassava, I'm not sure I get your question, Dr. Wayne. Number 2 is poultry. Poultry is number 2. Now, protein is going to have a lot of demand next year. As a matter of fact, it is expected that about 85 million birds will be needed next year. 85 million plus birds will be needed next year to try to bridge that protein gap. Then next year, there will be more things like anchor borrower scheme. These are stories you've not heard outside. Anchor borrower scheme will be out next year again in a different name or same name, just to boost more of the poultry value chain. Then it is expected that next year, real huge poultry farmers will make between 22 to 32% margin. Real big poultry farmers, not those ones that have 500 beds, 1,000 beds, 5,000 beds. No, people that have 10,000 and above, yes. Okay, roaming Taurus, you're a functional spice. We can actually make your spices for you here in Nigeria in your name and sent to you. Running Taurus, we have a 23,000 metric ton capacity per annum. We are happy to help you produce. If you would want to work with us, we are one of the biggest herbs and vegetable farms in West Africa, covering over 100 acres. Then number 3 thing that would be the highest selling in Nigeria for 2026 is palm oil production / export. So it's not just in the production, but in your export market. Based on projection, this should give about 24 to 30% returns. Now, the AFCFTA next year would enable about $1.5 billion in exports. The AFCFTA next year would enable about $1.5 billion next year in exports. So you might say, so just say hello to me in chat. I would reach out to you once I'm done. Just say hello to me in the chat, please. So there will be need for processing hubs. So you might be in an area and you are thinking, but I do not have palm oil. But do you have people? Okay, just say hello to me on LinkedIn. Let's talk on LinkedIn. You'll be able to get what's the word now? You may not have your own oil palm yet, but you can work with people who already have oil palm and set up mini processing hub. Next year, palm oil export is going to be a whole lot. Then next year, there are going to be a lot of zero duty incentives just to push for the export of oil palm. It is expected that next year, about 8.2 million tons of palm oil will be exported from Nigeria. 8.2 million tons of palm oil will be exported from Nigeria. Number four, as a way to is rice. Number 4 on the list is rice. So next year is a big deal for rice farmers, because there is a need to reduce import substitution. And let me explain why that is important. You realize that you can have food security without food sovereignty. So food security is we have food, but if you are not the one producing the food that you have, it means you have food security, but you do not have what we call food sovereignty. And that means that indirectly, your government is subservient to the nation that provides you the food, indirectly, through policies and regulations and all of that. Now, if you look at our diet as Nigerians, rice has become a major player in that whole value chain, right? So, because of that, there is going to be a lot of incentivized growing of rice next year, so that we can own our own, we can push for sovereignty regardless of how low. So next year there is going, I'm telling you things that you by November, December you'll be seeing them published. But the reality is these documents are already available. Just that you pay to access them early before they become public stuff. So I'm just trying to make it public in my own way. It's not illegal what I am doing. I bought it with my money, so it's fine that I can. What I was told is when you buy, they'll say you cannot share. But talking about it, they say we can't talk about it. So next year, there is going to be 11 million tons goal, and there is going to be irrigation incentives for, irrigation investment and irrigation incentives for rice farmers. So when I say irrigation investment, it means that there are going to be specially created budgets that you can access as loan through a federal government and other foreign bodies, but simply for irrigation purpose, just for irrigation purpose. It is expected that there would also be zero duty on Hawks rice driving local milling. There will be zero duty. This is to push for import substitution. I said that import substitution, that is what they are trying to push for. And the expected returns is between 20 to 28%. Now remember that in all of these percentages that I am giving, I am not bringing in inflation. So this could be lower based on what inflation is next year. The inflation report will come out sometimes in November to tell us what is the expected inflation for next year, sometimes in November. So by the time the inflation report comes out, we will now use that to start balancing. Okay, just an example, where we are saying that rice farming will be between 20 to 28%. If inflation is 20%, it means that rice farming could be anything between 0 to 8% profit margin at the end of the day, so that somebody will not say, they said 28% to Ogbole, I'm going to do investment and promise people 15% returns. Remember, we don't know what inflation would be yet. It has not been, the publication is not out yet. Number 5 on the list is maize production. Now, maize production is high because maize has dual function for food and for feed. However, there will be the intentionality to push more of resilient hybrids. That could mean hybrid in hybrid, or maybe GMO in its form, whatever that they decide to push. Now, there is the projection that 13 million tons will be produced. However, for those that will be incentivized by government or through financial institutes or DFI, that's developmental funding. Most of these ones would be those that they would want to ensure that your production is linked to a poultry or livestock producer, so that you are not producing to store in silos, but rather there is a connectivity between projection and usage. Projection and usage. That is what they will want to ensure. So next year there will be a lot of push for production of maize. It will be incentivized either from the tables of the government, or the DFIs decide to go without the government, or they decide to channel the funds through commercial banks. But one of the major things that would happen is they will connect all of these to the poultry livestock linkage, so that the 30 million tons produced goes to livestock. Profit margin is between 18% to 25% return on investment. Number 6 is aquaculture, fish farming. It will be a big year for catfish and tilapia. All those other fishes that people are trying to push, next year is not their year yet. But catfish and tilapia, yes. And the goal for that is, as of next year, it is predicted that there will be a huge gap of about 1.3 million tons import gap that the government will be trying to fill. However, the problem is there would also be a huge gap in export market for smoked fish. There will be a huge gap for export market for smoked fish. So while the government is trying to keep the fish in, because of the opportunities that exist to export, they would also want to bring in foreign currency. So for next year, it is expected that the market for our smoked fish next year is about $600 million. $600 million. That is the available market, or the available revenue that is supposed to come in next year through foreign exports, through exports. Now, there is also going to be a high demand for coastal tech adoption next year. Coastal tech adoption, because you would realize that rather than these conventional people doing fish pond, doing what's the other one we do, tarpaulin ponds and all of that, there would be a push by real commercial fish aquaculture people to go into, what's that thing called, cage aquaculture, where you are doing your fishing, putting the cage inside dams, rivers. So there will be a lot of coastal this thing. 22 to 30% return on investment is what is expected. Number 7, again, I'm only talking about the top 10. Remember, I'm not saying others are bad. I'm only speaking about the top 10. Number 7 is cocoa farming. Cocoa farming. So this is basically for exports. Basically for export, premium export. Now, however, there is going to be a twist next year, and the twist is going to come from a need to have sustainability certifications. Sustainability certifications. Reason is because the market understands that, Nigerians are, not just Nigerians, African countries are trying to bind together to say, let us control our future, let us decide how we sell, you cannot tell us how to sell and stuff like that. A new hurdle will be created. And that new hurdle now is, how sustainable are you in your productivity? And because a lot of farms do not have sustainability certification, you will now have to beg to sell, so that your product do not go to waste. So it's going to be a lot of good politicking next year. So with this, Nigeria would only be able to, it is expected that we would only be able to sell about 320,000 tons of cocoa, because this will fall under what is called European Union Green Deals. It is the EU Green Deals that we are going to be able to sell under. So those that are going to sell below price because they do not have sustainability certification, it has not been calculated, because those ones are seen as illegal. Hope that makes sense. Number eight, please, you can share for others that you feel need to know what next year will look like. I will try to have this recorded on YouTube so that I will also post the link for those who missed it. You can go back and watch it again and again, again and again. Some people asking me how do I get it. Reach out to me. I will send you the link. You buy this document. Some of them I buy for as much as $3,000, $4,000. So you can also buy your document and have access to all of this information. So number eight is ginger farming. So I keep looking right because I am looking at the document. I'm looking at the document to read it from it so that it's not something in my head. Number 8 is ginger farming. So next year is going to be a big one for ginger. We are going to come back to being a global leader next year. However, there is going to be a higher demand for organic ginger. However, because it's a recovery year for our ginger, we are only going to be able to push about 380,000 tons of ginger into the export market next year, 380,000. That is because of the organic certification needed to break that hurdle. And majority of this ginger will go into production of medicinal stuff. So it's the medicinal, the healthcare sector abroad that will dominate the offtake of this ginger, even if it is through third parties. Expected returns is about 17 to 22%, 17% to 22%. Next is number 9, right? Is snail farming. So next year is the year for exotic protein. So snail farming is going to be a big deal next year. As a matter of fact, for next year, looking at Nigeria, it has the highest returns of investment. The highest return of investment of 28 to 42%, which means even if our inflation is at 20% next year or 15% next year, snail people are still smiling to the bank. It has the highest returns, 28 to 42%. And it is going to be big in urban centers. So snail is going to be big in urban centers next year and also very big in the export market. So the whole import of things like the salmon and all of that will be substituted strategically for things like snail. So that is going to be a big one next year. And number 10, the last but not the least for Nigeria, is mushroom farming. Mushroom farming is going to have is going to blow out next year. And this is going to be for urban centers. There is going to be a lot of health trends next year. The returns on this is between 22 break into that market. So I don't know if there are any questions at this point. Remember that everything I spoke about, this is Nigeria agricultural landscape. This is for the Nigeria agricultural landscape, so that by the time I enter Africa landscape, there will be no confusion. They are two different markets. Now, you will notice, remember that I am a vegetable herbs and spices farmer. And as a vegetable herbs and spices farmer, one of the biggest from Nigeria, you will notice that the only thing that fell under my space directly is ginger, right? So that you understand that, I'm not saying this now because somebody will not say, Farmer Samson has said it is mushroom. You now jump into mushroom. You need to have your own access to market. I am just telling you what will happen for the country, not necessarily what will happen for you. This is what would happen for the country. So, a quick rundown again, just to summarize. Number 1 is cassava farming and processing. Returns, it will be 28 to 38%. 2 was poultry farming, 22 to 32% returns. Palm oil production / exports, 24 to 30%. Rice farming, 20 to 28%. Maize production, 18 to 25%. Fish farming, focus on catfish and tilapia, 22 to 30%. Cocoa farming, 20 to 26%. Ginger farming, 17 to 22%. Snail farming, 28 to 42%. Mushroom farming, 22 to 32%. 22. Let me see if I can open. I'm seeing some questions on YouTube. I want to see if I can open my YouTube channel. I'm not too. I'm an old man when it comes to all these tech. That's why I find people would say, why am I not able to do, what is it called? I'm not able to edit properly. I'm trying to see if there are live charts. How do I get to the live chart? Okay, I've seen the live chart in case there were questions on YouTube. So the modality, Mark Tesho, good morning. Sorry, I'm just seeing your message. I had to open my computer to be able to see questions on YouTube. So yes, the modality is simple. If you have fresh ugu, I have the market. And let me give you the hack. Ugu sells better in dry season. Ugu sells better in dry season. Sells better because in rainy season, most of our foreign markets, because they want to do shakara, they can go to the open market and buy ugu. Especially those people that do processing, that they will turn it to frozen or dehydrated. They can go to the random market and buy and just move it out. But when it enters dry season, we make a killing. In rainy season, we had about 10 to 15 tons weekly demand. Once dry season starts fully, that can go to times 5, times 10. I don't know if that makes any sense. Ugu, shoko, tete, wedu, uziza, utazi, all of these things, the market is insane, and I have access to this market. So when it comes to things like these leafy vegetables, I do a kind of seasonal planning for ourselves as a farm. Meaning, I know that when it is rainy season, guys, Mona go rest. But once dry season is coming, it is time to dominate the market. We dominate, we do make money. When dry season is coming, we go and sleep again. So, but your biggest money is in the fresh market ugu, or ugu fresh market. But your ugu cannot have holes. It cannot have holes because holes in ugu means that there are insects and all of that eating it. And when these things are going to Europe, once it gets to their quarantine, insect eating it means that there is a probability of zoonotics, there's a name they call that. Like there is a probability of you infecting their country. So those products will not pass. And because of that, you will not be able to sell the product. Hope that makes sense. Mark Tosho. Okay. Is there a way to Bashir Kamladin? Is there a way to increase value addition? Yes, I have been saying this on my live, and I've made several posts about this, that we have created a processing facility, and what I am trying to do is this. I have studied nations that moved ahead. Don't worry, I'll go back to African trade so that you don't think I'm distracted. I have studied nations that moved ahead, and nations that have been able to grow are countries where those who have the means create systems and become venture capitalists. And one of the things we have been able to do, and we are still trying to do, I am not done, we are still building, is we have created a processing facility that has capacity to produce 23,000 metric tons. 23,000 metric tons of value addition. So as long as you deal within the herb, spices, vegetable space, even a bit of tubers, you can come use our facility to process. You don't need to go and look for money to do your own facility. Our certification can cover for you just at a token. Let me explain 23,000 metric tons in English so that it would make sense. 23,000, you know these sachets, what is it called that you buy? All these paste, sachet herbs and spices. Most of those spices that you buy are like 5 grams. Let's even say they are like 10 grams at most, but most of them are 5 grams, 6 grams, 7 grams. We have the capacity to produce 100,000 million. We have the capacity to produce 2.3 billion sachets in a year. 2.3 billion. And the goal for me when we were setting up all of that capacity is a lot of farmers want to add value to their product, but they do not have the funds. Come use our facility. Let's work together. You don't need to own everything. You don't need to try to raise the little 10,000, 1 million, 2 million, 5 million you have. Use it to add value rather than trying to use it to buy equipment. Because when you buy the equipment, that equipment will not provide the money you need very fast. Hope that answers your question, sir. Okay. So I go to Africa now. I move on to African trade. I go to African trade. So, I've talked about Nigerian trade, what the outlook for 2026 looks like for Nigeria. So let's move to African trade. Now, African trade talks about, this is not just about Nigeria now. Now, this is why I want us to understand African trade. In African trade, there are two ways to look at it. Number one, Nigeria can be a source. Number two, Nigeria can be the market. I say that again. Nigeria can be the source. Nigeria can be the market because you are here in Nigeria. And for those of us that are very good, those of you that are very good in using social media, you need to understand that you can connect to an African elsewhere if there is a product you need here. If there is a product you need here, so that those products can come here and you can sell it here. I will give you a typical example. It is easier, more predictable to bring in strawberry flowers from Kenya to Nigeria than from Taraba. Sorry, not Kenya to Nigeria doesn't make it come out well. Let me say that again. It is cheaper, easier, faster, more predictable to bring in flowers. Yes, you heard me, flowers, roses. Because remember that I also deal in the roses value chain. To bring in rose flowers from Kenya to Lagos than from Taraba or Jos to Lagos. It is way easier, cheaper, and more consistent. So that you need to understand when we talk about this value chain or this, intra-African trade, we may not be the one sending out, we may be the one bringing in. We may not necessarily be the one trying to sell. We may be the one importing that thing that we need locally. I hope that makes sense. So, the number one, now for agribusiness for 20, I think I didn't say that for agribusiness, excuse me, for agribusiness for 2026 in Africa, we are going to have a trade of $1.2 trillion. $1.2 trillion. $1.2 trillion. $1.2 trillion for African trade next year. 1.2 trillion. I can switch this off. This gave it, let me put it here. I think this made it brighter. $1.2 trillion. So notice I am saying it again and again. The reason I'm saying it again and again is I need us to understand that there is going to be a lot of money within Africa next year. Now, it means that it is a question of how do I position myself to be a beneficiary of this money come 2026. How do I position myself come 2026? Because it's not that there will be no money next year, it is how do I position myself. Sorry, I'm trying to plug the phone, it's getting low. How do I position myself come 2026? That is the question for next year. Sorry, okay, it's charging. All right. How do I position myself? So, the number one for Africa next year is going to be a shocker. The number one for Africa next year is agro-processing. Agro-processing of rice and cassava. Next year, the number one is agro-processing of rice and cassava. Next year, there is going to be a deliberate action by African nations to cut down losses from these two products by 30%, and this would result in $120 billion import substitution, which means there are things we import into Africa made from rice and cassava. When I see, let me look for a way to explain that. Let me look for a way to explain that. So, do you know that there are products made from rice? Do we know that there are products made from rice? Because when I'm saying processing of rice, I am not talking about rice milling. No. There are products that are made from rice. There are things like rice flours, there are animal feed, mulching. There is a mulching film material made from rice husk. There is a mulching film material made from rice husk. You can use rice husk for the production of paper. There is rice bran. They use rice husk for production of compost. Rice is used, there is a part of rice used for brewing, used for distillation. So rice is used for different baby food, for noodles, for cakes, for cereals. So, because a lot of us, we are only used to rice as the rice that you cook as jollof, fried, or white. So, if you are somebody in the rice value chain, you need to realize there is going to be more funding available for those people who can do more with rice. And this is going to be highly promoted by the AFCFTA. Highly promoted by them, because this is a huge untapped space where they realize that, you go to most of our cereal shelves and all of that, most of these products are imported. So there is this intentionality to try to see how can some of these things be done locally. Most importantly, some of these foreign companies are even wanting to come here to produce because this place is getting cheaper. Now, the major hubs for the rice and cassava processing zones will be Ghana and Nigeria. Ghana will take the lead, Nigeria will follow closely. Returns on investment will be between 22 and 32%. So number one is rice. Number two, let me do a small dance. Yay! I'm sure you know why I'm dancing for number two. Because now you will know why I keep buying documents to know where we are going. Yay! I'm sure you know why I'm dancing. I'm sure you'd have figured out what number two is. The number two shaker in Africa next year. The number two. Number two. Horticulture exports. Horticulture exports. Ìyẹn ni number two. Ìyẹn ni number two. Horticulture export. Horticulture export. Ìyẹn ni number two. So next year there is going to be horticulture export. Yes, AFCFTA. Horticulture export is going to be number 2 for Africa next year. It will be a time for premium vegetables and premium fruits. Premium vegetables and premium fruits. Now pause. Let me explain what is premium vegetable and premium fruit. Because when we say premium vegetable and premium fruit, I can see where your head is going. I can see where your mind is going. Your mind is going where I don't know. I should help you spell number 2 again. Number 2 is horticulture. That's growing of vegetables, which is what I do now. Growing of vegetables, herbs, spices, horticulture export. Now, when you hear premium vegetable, I know where your mind is going. I know. Your mind is going to dragon fruits, berries. Your mind is thinking all of those thinking. No. What is the premium fruit? Hey, sorry, just a minute. My oga dey call me. My oga boss. Well done, sir. Well done, my oga. Hello, boss. Hey, network. Hello, boss. Network. Make I call you back, abeg. Make I call you back. Now, so what is the premium vegetables? My oga, make I call you back. Hello, boss. Now, what is premium vegetable? If you live in the UK, abi, lettuce cannot be premium vegetable. Nítorí pé because lettuce is what you have there originally. Àbí bẹ́ẹ̀ kọ́? What is premium? Premium is what you don't have there originally. That you have to depend on others to bring it in. That is the premium vegetable. Our ṣọkọ and tẹ̀tẹ̀ and ewedu and ugu and ukazi and usasi and cassava leaf. I'm sure you hope you know that people eat cassava leaves. Cassava leaf, potato leaves, water leaf, saint leaf. From Nigeria, these are premium vegetable. Other African nations have their own indigenous vegetables that we go to these nations. And whether you like it or not, Africa has some of the best spices that you can ever come across. Have you tasted alligator pepper? Alligator pepper is not from the animal called alligator. We have amazing spices. Have you tasted real locust bean? Amazing spices. These are going to be the shakers and movers, number 2 from Africa next year. And the biggest market next year is EU, that's European Union and US markets. It is expected that the export of vegetable next year or horticulture products next year will provide $12 billion. Hey, let me dance. $12 billion. However, the 2 markets that will benefit the most, the 2 markets, I'm trying to clean my tears, that will benefit the most will be Kenya and Morocco. Personally, I am adding Rwanda. And the reason they will benefit the most is because they have the most stress-free logistics system. Stress-free. When I went to Rwanda and we were trying to move things from Rwanda, I did not need to know anybody to meet Minister of Agric in less than 24 hours. I did not need to know anybody. As a matter of fact, when I was like, oh, I have market for avocado, this, we want to move them to France, they told me, go and figure out your France. They have access to, the country has proper, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm trying to look for the right words to use. The country has proper segmentation of where the farmers are, that I can just go and buy the avocado. There is a government-owned parking facility. So the way you do, what's that thing called? The work space. that you can just pay for one small space, but you don't own the building. These facilities are available in these countries I'm mentioning. So that if I want to move vegetable, I just get from the farmer, I come to a workspace that is government owned, the certifying bodies are there to certify, stamp, and I move product out. This is where we want to get to in Nigeria. This is the reason, because people were wondering, Farmer Sam, why would you go ahead and work with investors to get a cargo plane? The reason is because I have seen that logistics is going to be the biggest issue to compete in that market. It's just a minute. My guy is calling. Hello, boss. No, I think I call you back. I did online. I beg you, obviously, I'll call you back once I do. So sorry about that. So, thank you, Anta Ilara. Thank you. You can share with others, let others join. So, horticulture will bring about 20 to 28% next year, 28 to 28% return on investment. Number 3 is cocoa processing. Remember that now we're talking about Africa. Cocoa processing, value addition for top producers. There will be a global export of about $35 billion on just cocoa. We only had $12 billion in horticulture, but we are not greedy, we are happy. And Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana will lead. Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana next year, we see a lot of industries spring up around processing of cocoa. Return on investment will be between 17 and 24%. Then number 4, there will be a lot of investment available around climate smart irrigation next year. So those of you that are saying you need money, go and start thinking of a proper proposal and looking at for organizations that will provide funding for climate smart irrigation, because this will boost it by about 60% and is about mitigating drought. Available will be about $4 billion next year for climate smart irrigation, which means sellers of these things will make good money. Sellers of these things, that's the business angle. Those people who are into selling of farm equipment, if you are having things like smart irrigation, climate smart irrigation and all of that, then you might just be the vendor that is patronized. Major countries that will benefit the most is Egypt and Tanzania. They are the nations predicted to benefit the most from that $4 billion. And for those people who are into selling all of this stuff, we make between 24 to 30% return on their investment by stocking that. Number 5, let me dance for my brother, Femi Farmer. If you don't know him, go and look for him. Oga Femi Farmer, the CEO of Integrated Area Precision, because we are entering his field. Number 5 for next year is agri-tech. But when we say agri-tech, it's not just the whole of agri-tech, but more of AI and drones will be big next year. AI and drones, but their AI and drones will be focused on how to help smallholder farmers get precision agriculture. How to help smallholder farmers. So those of us that are saying you have this idea, that idea, this crazy idea, that beautiful idea, think of how it helps smallholder farmers. There will be a lot of money available from venture capitalists based on documentation. $1.6 billion will be coming into Africa from venture capitalists for people that can help smallholder farmers, either using drones or AI technology. The biggest beneficiary of that will be Rwanda and South Africa. And the reason for this is simple. Rwanda, South Africa have some of the most organized farm clusters, has some of the best organized farm clusters. So it is only normal or expected that they will be the biggest beneficiaries. Returns will be between 28 to 38%. 28 to 38%. Number 6 will be livestock. But under livestock, the biggest demand will be poultry and goats. So there is going to be an increased demand of about 300% in West and East Africa. There will be a 50%, what's it called? Now, there will be, the market will be focused on those led by youth. A return on about 17 to 22%. This one I did not really summarize it because it's not easy. I'm still trying to understand. Then number 7, oil seeds, especially from soya bean oil seeds. This would bring about $50 billion in market. The biggest beneficiaries will be Zambia and Ethiopia. Returns will be between 20 to 26%. Then number 8, sustainable forestry and agroforestry. These are things like carbon credit. So carbon credit is going to be good one next year. We are going, but they were not able to give an exact amount because there are still lots of confusions around carbon pricing. So no exact amount was given, but there will be ESG inflows, that's inflows next year. Then 14 to 20% returns for people that are able to access this market. Then aquaculture generally, there are fish gaps. Nigeria and Egypt will be the biggest beneficiaries as tech is integrated, 22 to 30%. Then number 10, the last but not the least, is organic crops, organic high value crops. Of course, you must have certification. This will bring about $120 billion in import revenue into Africa. Then you must have SAIS training and 17 to 24%. So I will pause in case of questions before I go to the top 10 for the world. Before I go to the top 10 for the world. So I'm sure we are able to see the difference between what is in Nigeria and what is in Africa. What is in Nigeria? What can you bring into Nigeria? So for those people looking at bringing things into Nigeria, climate smart agriculture seems like a good thing to bring into Nigeria. So any question before I move to the last part? Before I move to the last part? Any question? Any question? So next year is going to be beautiful. Next year will be beautiful. Okay, any question? So in the absence of no question, I move to the last part, the world. So for the world, can you talk more about organized clusters in farming? Yeah, so when we say organized cluster in farming, I should go through the top 10 again, okay? When we talk about organized clusters in farming, you know that when you go to villages, this farmer is doing tomatoes, this one is doing pepper, onions. Sit down and work with those farmers. Tell those farmers, with your 1 plot, 2 plots, 3 plots, can all of you just do tomatoes? Can all of you just do pepper? Can all of you just do ugu? Once you can get all of them in a particular space to do the same crop, that is organized clustered farming. And with that, you can access more markets. So running through the whole number 1 to 10 again. Agro processing, rice and cassava is number 1. Horticulture export number 2. Cocoa processing number 3. Notice I did not say cocoa production or processing. Number 4 was climate smart irrigation. Number 5 was ag tech around AI and drones. Number 6 is livestock, poultry and goat. Number 7 is soya beans. Number 8 is sustainable forestry and agroforestry. Number 9 was aquaculture. Number 10 was organic high value crops. I thought I saw a question. If you have less than 10,000 birds, cluster, look for people to work with so that you are not alone when you are facing the market. Look for other poultry farmers to say, okay, I have 1,000 birds, you have 1,000, but 50 of us have 50,000 birds. Let's go to market as a group, not as individuals. Okay, finally, the world. The world. So the global market next year is expected to be more than $5.5 trillion. Remember that Africa alone contributed $1.2 trillion, but the world market will be over $5.5 trillion next year. Food market alone. I don't have time to go into the clothing market because it's still agric, medicinal market because it's still agric, and other stuff. So the number one next year around the world will be precision agriculture. Precision agriculture takes the lead with AI and drones with an expected returns of 28 to 42%. $17 billion investment will be made available for agtech. A company called John Deere would take the lead in taking most of this money, as expected. Number two will be sustainable fertilizer. So next year is the year for biofertilizers as people try to cut emission cuts and build resilience. So there will be, this is a $20 billion market, because for some people that are into things like BSF and all of that, you are making nutrients, you are too focused on the local market. You are not thinking globally that there are people in other countries that will buy these things. So this will give about 20 to 28% returns. Number three. You know, anytime I dance, it has something to do with where we play, Abi. Number three in the global market next year is vertical and urban farming. Vertical and urban farming. So there's going to be about $10 billion available for us to access as we push for more vertical and urban farming, so that we'll be able to say, oh, we want to provide more urban farms in places like Lagos, in Abuja, because they are crowded and there are no farms. So we'll get this funding and come and give you free farms. So this will be about 22 to 32% returns. So when we are saying returns, it means that what we are able to charge as a delivery fee will be between these amounts. Then number four will be regenerative farming. So anybody that can say they can do soil carbon regeneration in soil, their ESG, this would have a potential of about $2 trillion access, but there are a lot of policies that would control and inhibit different nations. Then number five, next year is the year for farm machinery and automation. Get ready for crazy automation next year. This is going to have a $90 billion revenue in it, 24 to 30% returns. Then seeds and biotech, better hybrid seeds, better improved seeds. Next year is going to be a blowout of seeds that are climate change resistant, pest resilience. So companies like Corteva are going to bring out a lot of CRISPR. Because of the lot of shout against GMO, they are going to bring out a lot of CRISPR modification. So get ready for a lot of CRISPR modified seeds next year. Then a big conglomerate called CAGRO is big around seed, Corteva, and all of that. So next year is another year for seeds. Then number 7 is agricultural processing and bioenergy. So waste to fuel. Biofuel is going to be big next year. Is a $90 billion revenue chain next year. Number 8, sustainable aquaculture and livestock. So there is going to be a shift. Brands like Tyson Foods will blow out next year, will make more money as the market increases to about 30 billion, which means beyond animal source for protein, we are going to have a lot of needs for plant-based protein, as there is a need to protect the environment. You are going to have a lot of celebrities promoting plant-based protein, even if they eat animal protein behind the scene. You heard it first here. Then number 9, farmland. Let me see. I used abbreviations that I have forgotten the meaning. Just a minute. So okay. So next year is going to be a big one for farmland, real estate investment trusts, and exchange traded fund. Next year is going to be a big year for farmland, real estate investment trust. Those of us that are in the agricultural space, I am sure you would have noticed that this year you started seeing towards the past 3-4 months, you have been hearing a lot of people saying things like, come and buy farm. The farm can be a real estate. We will be using it to farm until you are ready. It will become a farm estate and blah, 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 blow, 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 li blah, li blow, li blay. I'm sure you'd have heard stuff like that. Next year, it is going to be bigger. Not just in Nigeria, not just in Africa, but worldwide. It is going to be really, really big. As a matter of fact, it is predicted that African nations will make a whole lot of money selling their farms to foreigners as farm real estates, so that they are registered as real estate, but they will be used for proper farm production. So it is going to be a way to hedge against inflation next year, and it is going to be a way for passive income. There is going to be a 9% growth in that market with a 12 to 18% returns on investment. Then number 10, food supply chain technology is going to blow out next year, as there is a need for more traceability and AI resilience. Blockchain. So next year, supply chain, people that can supply you food. I don't want to call company name because nobody paid me. They are going to get an investment of minimum of $50 billion next year. So that is that for the world. I don't know if there is any question. If not, thank you for listening. We've been live for about an hour, 12 minutes. Thank you for all the people that gave gifts on TikTok. Thank you. They said they'll say tap so that I can get more gifts. But thank you. I don't know if there are any questions. Or is there a topic you think I should discuss next? Dotana, I'm not sure why you want me to add you as co-host. I'm not sure why. Tell me why and I'll be able to add you. Any question, clarification? I hope we learned a thing or two. People should tap. I'm gonna at least like what they do. Say, try. Thank you, G Breeds, for the gifter badge. I don't know. Thank you. Again, this document that I shared for free, I didn't get it for free. I actually bought it. I didn't get it for free. So it doesn't look like, do I have land that you can lease? No, I don't lease out land. But if you want to grow ugu around us and you are serious, tell me how much land that you need. I can give you land. To use. The last one you mentioned, are you talking about logistics? No, not just so. It's not talking about logistics, but how to transport with traceability. It's not just, yes, logistics is part of it, but making it transparent, but it should be digitalized. Thank you so much, Romin Tharos. I will reply on LinkedIn, I will. If you need land, just say hello to me on my inbox. Come and I would happily introduce you to where you will get land. Do I have students don't steal our farm produce? Maybe how are you? Students don't steal our farm. Okay, there are one or two that steal. Let me not say they don't steal. There are one or two that steal, and once we catch you stealing, is expulsion immediately. But is expulsion. You pay for what you stole, We allow you carry what you stole, but you pay for it. If you cannot pay, we take you to sell. So majority don't steal, no. Majority don't. Okay. Majority don't. Okay, any other question? Any other one? Any other one? I think I answered the one on YouTube. 1 acre, yes, we can easily give you 1 acre. 1 acre is not a big deal. We can easily give you 1 acre. As a matter of fact, by next year in the north, I've been fortunate that about 2 state government gave me over 2,000 acres of land for free. Over 2,000 acres. So we are trying to plan out to even use the 2,000 acres. In Abuja, the government gave me 100 acres in Abuja, so which I've never gone to start using yet. And for people that are close to me, they now always tell them, if you need land in those areas, let me know. As long as I can trust that you will use the land dutifully, not resell, we'll give you the land to be using. I'm not using the land yet, so why will I hold it? And why would I hold the land? I mean, let those that can use the land use it. Okay, any other question? In Nigeria, we low farmers. I'm not sure I understand your question. No, so it depends. There might be no water supply. You just need to put a borehole yourself. The reason for that is I do expansion very quick. So because of that, I don't usually give land with water supply anymore. I don't usually give land. Before I used to, but I don't anymore. So that wherever I'm giving to you, I'll give you a part of the land that I know in 2 years, 3 years, I may not need it. So you are far away enough that we are not meeting each other or disturbing each other. Is Asian population on active passive competition for African market? I don't know how to answer that. It's not a competition for us. Now, Asian market is a rich market. That is one good advantage. And Asian has the population. Now, they are a big market for exports. So you would notice that the document for Africa for our trade for the US, for the Asian market is not out yet. But usually that is usually mind-boggling why Africans are poor. Because you see that those guys need a lot of things from us. And we are not even able to maximize. We are not able to maximize the opportunity that market offers. We are not able to maximize. Now, they are a competition when it comes to processing. The reason why I say they are a competition when it comes to processing is Asian market is very big on taking raw materials from Africans. They would happily take raw materials. They have the equipment. I mean, right now, I was supposed to travel, but I'm not really, I get jet lag easily, so I had to come back and rest. I was supposed to be in Canton Fair. Canton Fair is one of the biggest fairs in China. And one of the things, sorry, I forgot that the person I'm answering is here. I'm looking at what the person wrote. One of the things that I noticed is when you go to Canton Fair, you see the kind of equipment that those people have, the kind of machineries that those people have. So it means that when it comes to value addition, we are way behind. So in that place, they become an active competition. Because let me explain, why did I start pushing to do processing? I realized that, let me use a simple example, hibiscus. When you sell hibiscus from Nigeria, what do? You take the hibiscus in the north, we dry it on the road, then you export it out. If they overpay you, depending on the time of the year, maybe 950k to 1.2 million naira, 1.2 million per ton. And we are happy that S.ogbole, we have made money. But by the time it gets to these Chinese guys, they they clean it up. They have machines for cleaning. They have machines to redehydrate properly. They have machines to pulverize. They have machines to sterilize. They have machines to rebag and all of that. By the time they are done, the value of this product goes from 1.2 to almost 3, 4, 5 million naira per ton. So they are able to get times 3, times 4 of the original value just by that little value addition that they now give it to FMCGs. And my question usually is, why are we not doing this ourselves? There is a machine I had to bring in recently that we are able to mix different spices. So that's why I said they are both an active and passive competition depending on how you look at it. If we look at it as, oh, we are the producers of raw materials, then they are not a competition because they are our market. If we now say, oh, we want to start processing, they become a passive competition because they are our cheapest source of equipment. They are our cheapest source for equipment. So it's a competition because we are still meeting them to give us machines to produce. And those guys can be very, very wonderful. Let me leave it at that. They can be very, very wonderful. So somebody's asking, Moga Vincent, yes, for the transportation of food next year, I think I talked about that. That was in number 10, that food supply chain will be big next year. But it is not just about transportation of food, it's about traceability. It's about traceability. Can we trace? It's not about tracking, tracing. Meaning, can we trace these foods to a source? Next year, about $50 billion will be available in form of grants, loan, and all of that, venture capitalists that you can access to do that easily. About $50 billion will be available. So, as a person that is into tech, you might want to look at that and say, how do we position ourselves for that? How do we position ourselves for that? I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Okay, if there's any other question. In the absence of any question, thank you for joining. Okay, I was going to ask, which topic do you think I should do next? Which topic do you think I should do next? So that I will be doing it in the morning like this. I think morning times are better, or should you be doing nights? I still owe you a pair of socks. I will bring them soon. You said you like socks in work and learn 7. Hey, Ashawo Kobo. Good to see you, man. Yes, socks are my people have different things they spend money on. My own is on socks. Socks is my guilty conscience or my guilty pleasure. I am a sucker for socks. I love quality, fancy socks. I think right now I only have 2 wristwatches in my life. Don't worry, the wristwatch that I just got recently came with about 12 different straps. So somebody will not say, but you say you only have 2 wristwatches, yet we see different colors. It is one, but different colors of straps that I can keep changing. So I'm not a wristwatch freak. I'm not a car freak like that. I am not a cloth freak. I can wear polo money to night. But socks, me and socks are 5 and 6. I am a socks freak. So yes. So you said I should talk more about food traceability blockchain. So you see, we have something that we created for some specific customers where we are able to say, okay, if you are buying product from us on our blockchain system, you will see from the day we planted, it is available. As we planted, the fertilizers applied, everything is being documented and it is made available to the consumer. It is made available so that once you scan, in that simple scan, you can see how we planted, the person that planted, the fertilizations, everything. Then the person that harvested, who worked in the pack house, who transported it, which airline we use in transporting it. You are able to see everything, digital trace. But that is a whole other conversation. Standardization is a process, but you can start from where you are, Mr. Ayotunde or Ms. Ayotunde, from where you are. You can start from where you are. You can start with the simple HTCP, take it step by step, step by step, step by step. Child of God, you are tagging child of God. Money is the preference. Agro-business niches, okay. Processing and packaging, okay. Let's see how we can discuss processing and packaging. I would have done most of my life around our processing facility, but we've not pushed star links to that place yet. Maybe I will tell them, let's see if we can get star links there. Okay, any other question? Any other question? I have another meeting for 9. Any other question? Yes, so Food Doc, I was saying yes, I'm a socks freak. I love socks. Colorful, quality, handmade socks. There are times that when I dress, the most expensive gadget is my socks. And somebody has once asked me, but nobody sees it. I say, I know it's not about people seeing it, it's about what I like. Any other question? Any other question? So like I said, after this conversation, I will make a link. I will try and make a post and a link to the video on YouTube so that you are able to, what's the word? Watch the video again and again. Okay, great question, child of God. There is a huge market in Nigeria. Why do we focus on exports and not just food security? Very, very good question. I like that question. So let me answer that this way. You see, when as a farmer, part of what you use for production is denominated in dollars, and you want your food to be affordable, it makes sense for part of your market to be denominated in dollars. I will say that again. If as a farmer, there is any part of your production that depends on you importing your inputs or buying an imported input, then you then need to ensure that part of your output goes to export. If not, your product will become too expensive for the common man. I'll give you an example. I import UV nylon I use for greenhouses. I import some of my nutrients. My hybrid seeds come from Netherlands, Rizwan or Rizwan, depending on how you like to pronounce it. If I decide to put all that money and sell in Naira, my drip tapes are imported. Mulching films are imported. Weed mat is imported. So I need to sell part of what I produce in dollars, in pounds, in euros, so that I am able to balance my books easily. That is number one. Number two, maybe I will have this conversation one day. Maybe I will do a teaching on this. You must ask yourself as a farmer, are you producing for food security or are you producing for national security? There are food for food security. No, let me rephrase that. There are food for your business security and there are food for national security. National security food is food security. Your business security food is business sustainability. Let me explain. I'll give you an analogy. I used to work with IITA. I left as a research supervisor. I used to work as a research supervisor, and then I was working in a project called YIFSWA. YIFSWA means Yam Improvement for Food Security in West Africa. Back then, we were funded by a donor organization. And I remember vividly that we used to make a statement there. We would say, if you want to grow for food security, grow cassava. But if you want to, no, there's a way we say it, I'm paraphrasing it wrongly, But if you want, no, if you want to feed people, grow cassava. If you want to make money, grow yam. Which means there is a crop to grow to feed people. There is a crop to grow to make money. Now, there are crops for making money. The crops for making money are those crops that if you focus on as a business, your business is sustainable. Your business is sustainable. But there are crops that they feed people but they do not make so much money. For you to venture into such crops, you must ensure that you enjoy government subsidy. If not, people will be fed, your business will run down. People will be fed, people will be wondering whether you don't understand business, that you are not growing. Now, if you go to Europe, go and Google this so it doesn't look like Google it when I am done. Go and check how much subsidy that are given to farmers that produce soya bean and maize for livestock producers. They get a lot of subsidy because they are producing for national security. Because national security is food security. So they don't. Recently, was it maize or potatoes? I can't remember which one. Recently, less than a month or two ago, that the US had a lot of production of it, that the government was buying it from the farmers to store. The question is, do you have that in Nigeria? Because if you don't, you might be patriotic to what will kill you. You might be patriotic for what will kill you. I'm sorry to say it that way. You must understand that you are a business. Let me give you a perfect example. Do we have enough, what's it called? Alhaji Dangote, is he not moving his petrol to neighboring African countries? Is he not exporting it? Go to, at least the places I've been to, go to part of Europe, go to Arab countries, go and visit these places. I will tell you for free what I noticed, so I will shock you. That will shock you. A lot of Nigeria brands, I'm talking about big Nigeria brands, I met them on the shelves. Does that mean, don't we have people that have not eaten in Nigeria? Well, long story short, you are in business, so you will send it to where you will make money. I am child of God, I hope you understand. But again, who am I to tell you what to do in your business? I mean, nobody. What do I know? I'm an ordinary farmer. If God is telling you to feed us, who am I to stop you? Please, so feed us. Feed us, feed us, feed us, feed us, feed us. Feed us, feed us, feed us, feed us, feed us, feed us. Feed us, feed us, feed us, feed us. Okay, any other question? Any other question? So that I can log off, Hey, my Oga from Lawrence. Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. Yes, it's about 15 days to Safe Summit in Ado Ekiti. That is one of the biggest gathering of agricultural minds in Nigeria, a place where and it's always in November because they try to tell you what will happen for the next year. It's a free program. I've told Oga, let's put gate fee in Ogri. I will be there by God's grace this year. I'll be there by God's grace to eat. I'm going there first to eat inyon pounded yam. Before we export the yam, let us go and test it and validate the taste. So if you are in Ekiti, try and join. If you are not in Ekiti, try and follow Farmer Lawrence. I'll ask him if there is that people can join online. It's one of the biggest. And I dare say that if you look at the trajectory of agriculture in Nigeria, especially in the southwest, the two best performing states today in the southwest, when it comes to our Greek revolution, okay, let me not say the two best performing because I did one, you understand? So, but one of the best performing states in agriculture today is Ekiti under Honorable Ebenezer, and that is not the reason for that is not far fetched from the impact of Safe Summit, because you realize with Safe Summit, a lot of agricultural experts gathered, and to his credit, Honorable Ebenezer is always the two or three that I have attended, he was always present and he stays to the end. Because you hear him say things like, no, I'm gathering insight. I remember when we started Enterprise for Youth in Agriculture, Honorable Ebenezer sent people down and they used that to start Ekiti Youth in Agriculture, that they later transformed to Ekiti Youth in Urban Agriculture. And today they have expanded it from horticulture to poultry to fishery, a whole lot. Yes, he has posted it. Save Summit dot there is virtual participation, savesummit.postharvestsolutions.com. So just do Save Summit, SAFE Summit .postharvestsolutions.com. Save Summit. Let me see if there is postharvestsolutions.com. So what you can do is, if you are trying to search for them, go on Google, just type Post Harvest Solutions Company in Nigeria. Post Harvest Solution Companies in Nigeria. You will see that their company name will come out, Post Harvest Solutions. That is them. Through Post Harvest Solutions Limited, you'll be able to go to their website through Google, Post Harvest Solutions. You'll be able to go to their website, and from there you will get to the summit. We will not we know say we supposed to be wetin I call am stalking. Nothing will not dey stalk, so we can tell you how to get to every place through shortcut. So yes. Any other question? Any other question? So please, thank you for joining. Are you when are you coming to the farm? Until okay. Labake is an event planner in Ogun State. How do we as farmers help combat the rising food costs in the country? Child of God, how do I answer that in the most? It is not your job, your role to combat food price. I don't know how that sounds. Maybe I'm not patriotic enough. It is not your job to combat food price. It's not your job. It is not your work. It's not your role. It's not your role. That's the job of the government. I don't know how to explain that, because you need to understand that the reason why food is so. Again, let me say this first. Maybe I should start from this way. Inflation in the price of food is not a function of the farmer's inefficiency first. It's a function of the macro economy. So trying to play God by saying, how do you as a smallholder farmer do this? It's not just about you. It's about the macro economy. Are there things that there is the input cost, there is level of insecurity, there is high cost of funds, there is climate, there is infrastructure deficit, there is market irregularities, there is no proper market pricing strategy, no price floor, no price ceiling. policy inefficiencies. There are a lot of things you need to combat. So, again, it's not, I think what you should be looking at is how do you remain sustainably profitable without you trying to rip off others. Yes, I think, yes, that is where I think you should play. They can be looking at working as cooperative, using things like blockchain, diversification, mixed cropping, climate smart practicing, getting access to positioning yourself to finance credits, available grants. If you check my YouTube, there was a conversation I had where I took time to decipher when I talked about how to understand government policies, and I showed us that there are a lot of monies available. I think I exposed over $100 million available in agriculture that you can access. Check through my YouTube page. I can't remember what I titled the class, that I discussed funding available that people have not taken advantage of. They figure out how to reduce post-harvest loss, how to ensure farming year-round rather than seasonal farming, how to use agri-tech, and how to have access to better markets. So thank you all for joining. What is my advice for somebody that wants to farm on 2 plots of land? HB souvenirs. Do you want to hear my honest truth? If all you have is money for 2 plots and that is all the money you have, don't use that money to farm. Don't use that money to farm. Take that money, go and look for an existing farmer, go and look for a market, do trading. Be using your money to trade and trade and trade and trade. When you start making profit, use the profit to farm. Should the farm fail, you still have your capital to continue to raise it again. You don't use your last card to start something small. Because remember that your first farm is an experiment. You forget how many trainings you have been to, how many times they have prayed on your head, how much anointing oil has been poured on your head. The first farm will struggle, the first farm may fail. But go and use it to trade. While you are trading, over time you will now have your profit to use for your farming. I hope that makes sense. Have a great morning. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining me.